Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to the Jeep Solid Garage. My name is Dale. I'm glad you guys are here. So today I'm going to run you through a really easy process of how to change a radiator on a Jeep Wrangler YJ. This is something super easy. Do it yourself at home. Save yourself some money. The radiator on this Project Jeep is just shot. Let's take a quick look at it. Here's my Project Jeep. What do you say we take a look at it there, Toots? 1992 Jeep Wrangler YJ. You can see all the little fins on it are just busted out there. So it's definitely in need of replacement. You know, it was still doing its job down here. You know, that's not terrible, but worthwhile to replace it. And this video is sponsored by Engine Tech. I used them to rebuild my engine on this. Turned out absolutely great. I was really happy with their parts and service. So I'll be sure to include a link to Engine Tech's website in the description below, and you can see some of the parts that I used on my rebuild. So let's pull out our new radiator, see what we got here. Alright, that looks like it'll do the trick. Some of the parts, a couple of O-rings in here too, just flopping around, but I think we've got everything. Oh yeah, they were all in this bag here. This looks like it tore open. So let's get this thing right side up. We got a little petcock right down there. Here's our bottom radiator hose. A spot for our top radiator hose. The cap, our little overflow right here. And down here, a lot of these come with these two little guys right here. That's for your transmission cooling. If you have transmission cooling lines, and a bunch of adapters here, some O-rings. But mine does not have that, so I'm going to leave these plugged, and we're not going to use them. I'm going to kick that off to the side for a bit so we can get started. First thing, whenever you're working on a vehicle, it's a good idea to disconnect the battery. Yeah, we're not working, you know, anywhere near the starter or anything, but I've seen funny things happen. You know, you drop a wrench, it hits here, bounces off, goes down, bumps the starter, shorts it out, and your vehicle then lunges forward and hits you. So just a good idea to play it safe and make those little things like that habit. First thing we're going to do, take this fan shroud off. Oh, the other thing I did, I went ahead and kicked Tootsie out of here. Can't have my cat roaming around because I'm going to be draining the fluid here. And obviously you got to do this when your engine's cool. Little power steering reservoir is attached to the radiator and fan shroud here. And with that, we can kind of get the fan shroud and this reservoir out of the way. Now it's as simple as 4 little bolts on the radiator, disconnect the hoses, drain the fluid, so we're going to do that first. And yeah, I always like wearing eye protection. You don't want to get any of this splash in your eyes or anything. And then I've had lots of times where little pieces of metal or things flick off and try to hit you in the eye. Just put some glasses on. All right, let's drain the fluid. Got a nice clean bucket here because I'm actually going to save and reuse my fluid because it's not bad. But this is a good time to change your fluid if your fluid is old, so be sure to keep that in mind. So right there is a little petcock on the radiator. Now, if that gives you trouble, just skip right over it. Sometimes those can be kind of frozen and fused. So it can be a lot easier just to jump over right there to that lower radiator hose, disconnect that and drain it there. If you are draining it with the petcock, open up the cap here. That'll let it drain a little bit faster. Move a little tube from our overflow. And this guy right down here, the bottom two, you don't have to take them all the way out. Just loosen those guys because the radiator will lift right off of them. Oh, that's right, I forgot there's 3 on this side. All right, with that, this radiator should lift out. So there we go. One of these is old and one's new. A little bit of an upgrade here. Yeah, this thing was just all beat up. All the little fins in there are busted, which just, it wasn't leaking, but it interferes with your cooling. It doesn't cool as well. And then the whole side panel here, this is the weld here, came loose, so I'll be sure to include a link in the description below for this new radiator that I'm using. Looks like it'll be a good fit. Yeah, that's going to be so much better. So those bottom 2 bolts on the frame of the radiator here, that's what I was talking about right there. That's why you don't have to take those bottom 2 all the way out. Just kind of helps hold the radiator in place while you're monkeying around trying to get things in there so it doesn't try to drop all the way down onto the ground for you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have these 2 little ports down here on the bottom for transmission cooling. And, you know, some people had the same questions I did about if you need to plug those off or what those are all about. So I thought we'd do a real quick demonstration here. So this is all perfectly dry right now. What I'm going to do, we're going to add a little bit of water. I'll just drain this out later, but just want to show you guys real quick. All right, there we go. Can you hear the fluid in there? So here, we'll drain a little bit out and we'll look at this port for the transmission cooling. Obviously your transmission fluid is separate than your coolant. But if I open up the petcock here, water coming out. Right, so we know there's fluid in there. And then in here, let's zoom in on this guy. So that's where your transmission fluid would be, and it is perfectly dry. So it's a completely separate system. I'm not exactly sure where all it's routed through here, but it's pretty clear to me that, yeah, this is separate. So you just, I'm going to leave these little rubber plugs on there, and that should be just fine. Not going to have like coolant flowing out of there. Anyways, that was a question a viewer had on this style radiator, so I thought I'd just show a real quick detail on that. Just want to check the petcock here. Okay, yes, petcock is closed. Slide this guy down in here. All right, so that looks perfect. So we're just going to put the rest of the bolts back in on the radiator here, hook the hoses up. Then we'll talk about filling it and burping it. All right, now that we have all the hoses and everything hooked back up, we're going to go ahead and fill the radiator and burp the system. So this is a special funnel for burping the system. These are super handy because what we're going to do, we're going to start the engine up, and then the thermostat's going to open up and it's going to pull some of that extra fluid in, sucking this down a bit. So if you have it up above the level of the radiator bit, it's super handy. These funnels are really nice. I'll link it in the description below where you can find this. It's just a handy little tool. And of course we're checking for leaks as we're going along. All right, we've got it filled up. We've got a little bit extra in our funnel here. Like I said, when the thermostat opens up, here, let me squeeze this. We just want to make sure we get all the air out. You don't want air pockets in your engine. It can cause hot spots, things to overheat. So we're going to start it up, get the engine up to operating temperature, make sure the whole system is burped out, and top it off if needed. So as you see that the temperatures start to come up, sometimes you'll see it kind of drop down a little bit. That's when your thermostat opens and you start to pull that coolant through your engine, getting all those air bubbles out. And you'll see some of those air bubbles coming up in that funnel. Super handy little kit. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out my next video right up here and have a good day. See if I can make